Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is JonHut, and today I want to share with you how to organize projects on FL Studio. So we are going to start with a project that looks like this to an organized project that looks like this one. So let's start with this tutorial. Okay, so I'm gonna use this project for this tutorial. Now, this is a finished project, and my recommendation is that you organize your project as you go. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense to organize the project when it's already finished. You can also create a basic template to start every project, which is gonna save you a lot of time in terms of organization. I made a video about how to create a basic or advanced template. You can also download the basic template, so I'm gonna leave the link of the video on the description below. So let's organize this project. But first of all, I just have to mention that this project already have a bit of organization, which in my opinion, that's the minimum that you can do to keep your projects organized. So all of the tracks on the playlist have their own names. Now here on the mixer, as you can see, all of the mixer channels have already their own names. And the same for the channel rack. So the first thing that I like to do every time that I start a new project is to create a project folder. In order to do that, I'm just gonna go to Options, go to File Settings, and now I'm going to Project. Now, as you can see, the data folder is set to Don't Use a Data Folder. So I'm gonna click on it and I'm gonna select Store Data in the specific folder. Now I'm gonna click to this folder icon. I'm gonna go to my external hard drive, and in here I'm gonna select a specific folder where I want all of the data of this project to be safe, like audio recording, backups, etc. Next, let's organize the playlist. And the first thing that I recommend you to do it is to organize the track channels by section. So in here, as you can see, I have all of my kicks, then all of my claps, toms, percussion, cymbals, etc. All of them together. Now, if you don't have it together, you just have to select a track that you want to move, hold shift, and with the mouse, just scroll and move it where you want. And once you have all of your different sections together, then I'm gonna create an empty track above all of these different sections. So here on the kick, I'm gonna right click on it and insert one. And then I'm gonna right click again on it and I'm gonna rename, color, and set an icon. Next, I'm gonna do the same with the clap and snare section. And I'm gonna do the same with all of the different sections that I have on this project. So now that I create this empty track above each individual section, I'm gonna create the different groups. In order to do that, I'm just gonna go to these two channels of the kick. I'm gonna right click on it and I'm gonna click on group with above track. Then I'm gonna do the same with the clap and snare. And the same for all of the individual groups. Okay, so now that I have the groups created, I'm gonna go to each individual group, click on the empty track, and I'm gonna select Auto Color Group. And now I can minimize this empty track. And I'm gonna do the same with all of the individual groups. And now I'm gonna add an icon to each individual track. So for the kick, I'm gonna select both channels, right click on it, change icon, and I'm gonna select the kick icon. And I'm gonna do the same for each individual track. Now I'm gonna rename all of the patterns, audio clip, automations, etc. In order to do that quickly, I'm just gonna go to one of the tracks on the playlist, double click on it, and it's gonna select everything. Now I'm gonna right click and select auto name clips. And another thing that I like to do is to collapse all of the automations. So if I go to the clap volume, if I go to the left side of this track, then I can collapse this track. So I'm gonna do that with all of the automations. And now I'm gonna collapse all of these groups. So as you can see now, the playlists look way more organized and with a quickly access to each individual instrument, samples, audio clip, automations, etc. And the last thing that I want to mention here on the playlist is that you can assign this track to an audio channel or a specific instrument, which give you some advantage. So first, let me show you how to do that. I'm going to go to the plugs group. I'm going to select the plug 2 and then I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to go to track mode and in here I can choose between these two options, audio track or instrument track. Now for this example, as this is an instrument track, I'm going to go for instrument track. And now in here on top, I'm gonna use existing channel and I'm gonna select the plug number 2. So now you can see that these lead icons appears on the track. That means that this track is assigned. One of the advantage of assigning the tracks is that you are gonna automatically have it rename it, color it, and with the icon. And another advantage for an instrument track is that in order to open the instrument, I don't have to go to the channel rack and select the instrument that I wanna open. Here on the playlist, I can just double click on the instrument and it's gonna automatically open the instrument that is assigned to this track. And now for the audio example, I'm just gonna go to my external synths and here on the Pro 3 channel, I'm just gonna select the track, right click on it and go to track mode. Now I'm gonna go to audio track and I'm gonna choose a Pro 3. So one more time, by doing that, it's gonna automatically rename, color, and assign an icon of the track on the mixer. And it also gives you this quick access with some recording options. And now let's organize the mixer. So here on the mixer, same as before, first thing that I recommend you to do is to divide all of these channels by a section. As you can see on this project is already done. I have a kick channels, then I have all of the clap and snare, toms, percussion, cymbals, etc. So first of all, I'm gonna give a color to all of these sections. Okay, now that I have all of my individual channels, I'm gonna add a separator to each individual group. In order to do that, I'm just gonna go to the first track on each section. I'm gonna right click on it and I'm gonna add a separator. So I'm gonna do the same for each individual group. And now that I have all of the individual channels organized, I'm going to also organize the different groups and sends. Now, in order to do that, I always use the last channels on the mixer to create my groups and sends. So now if I go to the end of the mixer, you can see that in here I have already my groups and sends created. Now, what I like to do is to dock the groups on the right of the mixer and the reference channel and utility master on the left side of the mixer. In order to do that, I'm just going to select the master channel and the reference channel, right click on it, and now I'm gonna go to dock to and I'm gonna select left. And now I'm gonna do the same with my groups and sends. I'm gonna select all of my groups and sends. I'm gonna right click on it and I'm gonna select dock to right. And now I'm gonna rename all of these groups and send. So at the time to rename my groups, I like to use the same color as the individual channels, but darker. So I'm gonna go to the kick group, right click on it, rename color and icon. I'm gonna select the color, and if the individual channel is a earth red, then I'm gonna choose the one on the bottom, chocolate brown. And for the icon, I like to use the routing icon. So I'm going to rename all of these individual groups and sends. And my two main buses and the master section, I like to leave the color as default. So the last thing that I want to do is to add again a separator on these group sections. And last, here on the mixer, I'm also gonna change the color of some subgroups that I have on the individual channel sections. So here on the cymbals, as you can see, I sent these 3 different hi-hats to a subgroup. So in order to help me identify quickly this subgroup, I'm just gonna right click on it. I'm gonna change the icon. I'm gonna choose the routing, and I'm also gonna change the color. So right click on it, change color, and if for the symbols I use the one on the top, I'm just gonna go one above. So now, as you can see, it's definitely easy to identify with your eyes these subgroups on the individual channel section. And now that I have the playlist and the mixer organized, I'm also gonna organize the channel rack. So here on the channel rack, the first thing that I like to do is to go to this little arrow on the top, click on it, and it's gonna pull up this menu. And now I'm gonna go to short by and I'm gonna select track number. So right now I have everything organized by track number depending of the mixer. And now, same as before, I'm just gonna rename all of these tracks and automations in order to help me identify all of them quickly. So for all of the instruments, you have to do it individually. But for all of the automations and audio claps, you can do more than once at the time. So here on the picker panel of the playlist, here on top, I can choose between patterns, audio clips, and automation. So if I go to audio clips, I can choose more than one at the time. So I'm gonna select all of the symbols. I'm gonna right click on it and I'm gonna change the color of all of these audio tracks. And I can also assign an icon for all of these audio tracks. So as you can see, it changed on the picker panel menu of the playlist and also on the channel rack. So I'm gonna rename each individual instrument and audio track. Now I'm gonna go to the picker automation clips and I'm gonna organize all of them following the same color organization as on the playlist. So now that I have all of the tracks and automations of the channel rack organized, I'm gonna create a different groups with all of these tracks. So first of all, I'm gonna create a group for the drums. So from the kick till the cymbals, I'm gonna select all of the drums. Now I'm gonna go to this little arrow, I'm gonna click on it and it's gonna pull up this menu. And from here, I'm gonna go to group selected. And here I'm gonna give it a name, in this case, drums. So now I have all of my drums in this section of the channel rack. And if I want to come back to all, I just have to click on it and go to all. And in here, I have all of my tracks. So I'm going to create another for a synths. So I'm going to select from the bass till the last synth that I have on the channel rack. And I'm going to create another group called synths. Now I'm gonna go back to all again and I'm gonna create another group for effects. Now I'm gonna go all and I'm gonna create another group for automations. So as you can see, I have the channel rack perfectly organized by these different sections: automations, drums, effects, harmony, and synth. So if I'm looking for a drum, I just have to go to the drums and I have all of them in this group. And if I'm looking for a synth, I just have to select the synths group and here I have all of my different synths. And if I need an automation, I just have to go to automations and in here I have all of my different automations. So as you can see, now the project is perfectly organized. I can easily identify a sample instrument or automation on the playlist. Here on the picker panel of the playlist, I can also easily identify each individual patterns, each individual audio clips, and also all of the automations. Now here on the mixer, I can easily identify each individual channels, groups, and sends. And last, here on the channel rack, the same. I have all of the automations perfectly organized. All of the drums, all of the effects, my harmony group, and all of the different synths. And one more thing that I forgot to mention is that you can also add time markers into the playlist to help you identify each different section. So I just have to select where I want to add a marker, and now I can either go to the playlist options, time marker, and add one, or I can use the shortcut option T. And now I just have to add the name. So in this section is going to be the drop one. So I'm gonna add all of the markers for this track. So now that I have the project completely organized, let's compare this project of how it looks before and after all of this organization. And the last trick that I want to give you is how to organize your VST library. So if I go to the mixer, if I click on one of these 3 slots, then you can see that I have all of my effects organized. So the first thing that I want to show you is that here on the bottom, you can organize your effects by these 3 different options, by category, simple, or tree. To create all of these subfolders and organize your plugin library, you just have to open the browser, and then here on the plugin database, just right click on it and go to System and Open. And it's gonna open your plugin database. Now, this is exactly the same for Mac and Windows users. Now, in here we have these 3 different options: effects, generators, and install. Now, in order to organize all of your plugins, you have to do it through effects section or generators. So now here on the effects section, let me first maximize this window. Now I can go into the effect section, and in here I can organize all of the plugins as I want. I can right click and create a new folder, and I'm gonna name it demo. And now I can add, for example, this Split plugin into this folder called demo. And now if I close this window, here back on the mixer, if I select the F3 slot, now I can see that the folder that I create is already here, demo, with the plugin that I already add. So you can organize all of your different plugins by brand, by type, or as you want. Now for myself, I like to do it by brand and also by type of effects: compressor, delays, distortion, filters, modulation, etc. And if I go to instruments, in here I have exactly the same organization. All of them organized by brand and also by type of instrument: analog synth, digital, pianos, etc. Okay, that's all for me. Hope you like and learn something from this video. If you have any question, please leave a comment below. Thank you very much for watching. My name is JonHut.